On today's show, Darius Robinson is dominating camp. Starling Thomas goes down, and Marvin Harrison Jr. also is dominating. What's real, what's fake, and just how deep are the Arizona Cardinals? Well, we're going to see it all soon in action, and let's talk about it next.
Rise up, Red Sea. It's the Cardinals Squad. Sponsored by Game Time. Everything Arizona Cardinals every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Valley of the Sun. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Gear up and squad up. The Cardinals Squad Show starts now.
Welcome back into the Locked On Cardinals Squad Show. I'm Benjamin Garcia, host of the Ben Garcia Show mornings on YouTube and a credentialed Cardinals media member. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen here on this beautiful Tuesday, getting some consistency on the show recently. Don't forget, Locked On Cardinals Squad Show is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button to do what thousands, dare I say millions of Cardinals fans have already done, become an everyday and get locked on to the Cardinals Squad Show right here each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Joining me, as always, both guys in, I believe, Southern California right now, but from your regularly scheduled Locked On Cardinals show, Alex Clancy joins me, and as well, next to him, former ASU football alum, an NFL offensive lineman, and Super Bowl champion, Jamil Douglas. What's up, fellas? How we doing? I said some consistency, but you guys are not thrilled with me. Showing up a little late to the party, and, we're here, man.
Again, it's just your world, bro.
He's the nice one.
For the people that have been following the squad show for the past couple of weeks, they know about my water bottle incident where I just spilt water all over me. Today, I thought about both you guys as I was working. I took a sip of my water, spilt it all over me, and I told myself I wouldn't tell you guys, but I thought you guys would get a kick out of it. Either way, Darius Robinson is headlining camp so far. Maybe outside of Marvin Harrison Jr., the most dominating player so far. What does it mean for the defense? I kind of phrased this question pre-show of maybe I'm just wrong about wanting to go get a TJ Watt or a Micah Parsons or a Trey Hendrickson who's ending his holdout today. Maybe the Cardinals feel like they have that guy. I was at training camp almost every day last year, and Darius Robinson looked awesome, and he might be even better this year. Clancy, I'll start with you, man. What does it mean if Darius Robinson, if this is actually the guy we're getting this season?
First of all, Jamil, I think the over-under for him realizing that he's going to be wrong more than he thinks was like a month. We hammered the under, and look at where we are. That was Jamil's words, okay? I was just the one that said it. No, this is what you want, and it's interesting that you couple Marv and Darius Robinson together. All they've done since the end of last season was do everything necessary to position themselves for a jump in year two. All of them, both of them. They're both jacked compared to where they were last year. They've said nothing. They've just worked hard, shown up to camp, and we're starting to see it. Like with Darius Robinson, it was one play last year. It was, after he came back from injury, after the passing away of his mom, etc. It was later. I can't remember what year it was or what week it was. One of the early snaps in the game, he was lining up on the right side over the left tackle. Downset hike, right arm in the chest of the left tackle, left arm in the chest of the left guard, and he just pushed them both back. This is a kid compared to the veterans that he was playing against. And that's the floor, man. I mean, Jamil's played against some of the best. Like, if you see this stuff in camp, this isn't just camp stuff. This is like, oh my word, this dude is getting exponentially better. And now he's got a supporting cast that any young player would covet.
Yeah, I'm catching, just really quickly, I'm catching a lot of what you're saying, Clancy, but you're kind of fading in and out here. I don't know if Jamil's having the same problem, but maybe you want to hop off and then hop back. Maybe it's just me. All right, so that's good. Maybe it's me that needs to hop off and hop back, but I get about what a lot of the stuff you're saying about Darius Robinson. Jamil, I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, no, he sounds good on my end. He sounds pretty clear. So I think, look, obviously it's a great thing. We know it's early in camp. Guys are juiced up, they're ready to go. If anything, it gives you the ability to kind of buy time with Walter Nolan and not rush him back in a sense with the calf injury. And then when he is back, you really have two bona fide guys that can rush the passer, from really you could play those guys on the edge if you wanted to. But I think it allows you to be patient with your rookie. Obviously, you want him to be ready for week 1, week 2, but you don't have to rush the guy. And it gives you those 2 first-round caliber talents that you need. So it's great to have him, making the headlines this early. I want to see it flash in the preseason and, as camp goes on, and then obviously the beginning of the season. But it's a great issue that we're even talking about it.
Yeah.
I'm more curious what the plan is for Darius Robinson this year, because they have so many guys. I know he's mostly going to play in the interior. Obviously, I'm not that stupid. I've watched enough Cardinals games over the last 16 games that what was it? 8 games that he played last year, 6 games that he played last year. We're like, he's going to play mostly in the inside, not much of a defensive end or an outside linebacker to that respect. However, you don't necessarily have those guys on the edge that I think maybe do a better job than what Darius Robinson can do in doses on the outside. With Calais Campbell, Dalvin Tomlinson, when Walter Nolan comes back, you have a decent amount of dudes that can rush the passer from the inside. I'm just curious what the plan is for Robinson. If he is truly just an interior guy, that's awesome. But from what I've seen last year in camp and now this year in camp, he looks like dominating, man. He's pushing guys around, and this was an interior of a Cardinals offensive line that was pretty good last year. It wasn't the right tackle position, which had a little bit of a revolving door. I just wonder if he's going to be used in more sets than in just put him in the middle and bull rush guys. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, that's a good problem to have. Like and I talked about this on the show earlier today on Locked On Cardinals, that like, if you can move him where necessary in a specific specific situation, if you need him to bull rush and speed on the outside and include his incredible strength to just play one-on-one against a tackle, or if it's a run stuffing situation, if you've got heavy and he's there alongside Dalvin Tomlinson, he can do both. He did both at Missouri. He played on the outside, I believe, his junior year, and on the inside his senior year, but the dude can do everything. Now it's just a matter of putting on that bulk. As you tend to lose a little bit of that burst. You're not that speed guy on the outside, but with Zaven Collins moving potentially to off-ball backer again, there is a wide open spot for a dude, and I think it's going to work no matter what. If you move him outside, that means the interior is good, which is great. If you need to keep him inside, that'll be the strength of the defensive line, which is also great. So the fact that he's showing he can do both and that he's in a position to do so, chef's kiss.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have to be a rocket off the edge, He's just got to be a threat. And the fact that you'll have these guys, a Calais Campbell, who we know he's in year 15 or 13, whatever it is, but the fact that he's savvy enough to get to the quarterback, you bring in Walter Nolan to the situation, just having those guys that can pose a threat to offensive linemen makes linebackers and DB's job that much easier, because now the opposing offense has to scheme for that and understand that there's rushers all over the field. So the guy doesn't have to have the burst of a Micah Parsons to be a threat. He's just got to show that he has the versatility to do it, and that allows other teams to have to create for you.
Yep.
Does it feel like, and maybe it's me, because I was the one that phrased the question of like, maybe you don't need a Watt, a Micah, Hendrickson. The Cardinals feel like they might have their guy. How much of training camp, I guess this is a Jamil question. How much easier is it for a guy to stand out in training camp than, to be fair to Robinson, like statistically, he wasn't bad last year, but statistically, he didn't fill up the stat sheet. And so when I feel like I'm overhyping a guy who had 4 solo tackles last year, 1 sack, played in 6 games total, how much of it is training camps making him look better and it's easier to stand out? And he was hindered from the injury last year, the calf injury, which was a real deal. It kept him out all the way until, if I'm doing my math right, week 11 or week 12. How much easier is it to stand out in training camp?
Look, I think obviously in the first week it's easy, right? As the pads kind of stay on and they start to get a little bumps and bruises here and there, and you get so familiar with the guy you're going against, then you'll start to see, okay, does he have more in his rush package? I think like you said, I mean, what is this, day 3 of pads? You know, it's fairly early. So of course, you know, guys have been working on things all off season that they're now trying out. I think once you see the offensive lineman in the week 2 or 3 of training camp and they've gotten accustomed to going against this guy every day, then it becomes harder for a guy to have those breakout plays and the sacks. Now, if he's doing that in week 3, week 4, it's going to be a great year for the Cardinals defensively, which I hope he does. But I do think it's harder to stand out in training camp because you go against these guys every single day.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. When it comes to, sorry, I didn't mean to jump in. When it comes to Darius Robinson, this is something that is going to be difficult to stomach because it's not going to look the way it's supposed to, but it's still going to work. There's not going to be a standout dude in this unit. Everybody's going to rotate. Everybody's going to be hitting. It's like, do you remember when you played AAU ball growing up, or, you know, soccer or whatever? It's like, okay, 5 guys in, 5 guys out. Let's go. Everybody just keeps getting rotated in. Everybody plays the same amount of minutes. That's closer to what we're going to see this year, everything being equal. And Josh Sweat said it in the presser today. He's like, we're going to be rotating dudes. Whoever's going to be playing well is going to stay on. Like, this isn't like where Aaron Donald plays 99% of the snaps and has all the opportunities. I'm not comparing the two. But it's not going to be that. Like, the situational pass rusher packages, the blitz packages that Nick Roush will put together, everything's going to look different. So it's a matter of the pressure forced and the opportunities for turnovers gained. That's what you're looking at this year. It's not the sack numbers. It's not anything like that to be a true determinant on if this works. And I think that we're going to see it with our eyes right away. First of all, I think you should play a larger chunk of the preseason than I thought initially. Like, Ben, to your point, you got to see what this dude's got. Unless you're playing 3s and 4s, you got to see what looks real. And, I mean, they had like a redshirt dude. First-round pick was a redshirt. He's just come back looking like a demon, but he's not going to lead the charges here. He's going to be a main part of the cog of the machine, in my opinion.
I feel like it's crazy, man, because I watched this dude up close last year, and one of the reasons why I like going to training camp is it's fun to see. It's fun to hear what everyone is talking about on the sidelines, and all the talk about last year was, damn, Darius Robinson is moving multiple dudes, and now he looks bigger. And so now it begs the question of, like, this year I really wasn't talking about Darius Robinson being the best pass rusher overall, defensive end or defensive tackle on this team. And now I see him moving dudes again. This is a good Cardinals offensive line. We'll talk about some of the issues that we've seen from camp so far, and mainly, in my opinion, the right tackle position, maybe getting some depth in Will Hernandez. But, like, for all extensive purposes, it's the same line last year for the most part. Guys like Yoda Froholtz getting put on his ass. And it's like, is Darius, I don't know, man. What percentage chance? Because he plays a lot on the inside. So it's not fair to say who could do it more, who has a better chance of doing it. But percentage chance, Darius Robinson leads this team in sacks this year.
Look, I'll say this just in terms of the offensive line from a training camp perspective. It takes, if you think offensive line is one of the only positions that you can't really mimic the speed and power during the offseason. When guys go away for the 6 weeks in their training, you just can't mimic that type of contact. So it's going to take, it's going to take a week or two before guys are really getting their hips under them and feeling the bull rushes and able to set them down. Like, those type of things take time. So don't get too ahead of yourself on the offensive line. Let's talk about it in week 3.
And also, I mean, with that, like, all joking aside, like, all of that, like, it's, you want to bubble wrap these dudes too. Like, it's pads, but it's like, it's easier to bubble wrap pushing forward than moving backward. Like, these dudes. So it's not what it looks like either, but it's not bad. I call them the oh no moments. There's been no oh no moments where it's like, that guy looks lost. That's really all you can take from camp. Maybe some flashy catches from Marvin, stuff like that. But the proof is in what Darius Robinson has done since the end of last season, just like with Marv. And it's showing on the field. And he's got an elevated like an elevated locker room together would be the understatement of the century. Like he's got dudes now too, to where he's only going to get single coverage. Like you ain't doubling him. Who are you going to single coverage, or who are you going to slack off of? You're going to double Darius. Like it's gonna be a good situation to be.
I just continue to go towards last week. I mean, it was me because I wasn't expecting Darius Robinson to be this good again. Of like, all right, the depth's going to get a little bit of tested here. I believed in Walter Nolan to be the interior presence and the interior force this year. And like to your guys' point, it was kind of walking me off the ledge of like, he wasn't made to save this position. And that was Clancy's point last week of like Darius Robinson coming in. Maybe Walter Nolan already wasn't going to play that much. Not like none, but not, I guess I would say not as much as you would assume a first round rookie would be able to come in here and do. And now I'm like, can you move him in the middle? Could he be on the outside? So Robinson, for all extensive purposes, man, has been absolutely turning heads. Another player who's turning heads for the wrong reason, Starling Thomas, unfortunately, tearing his ACL. Cardinals feel like they have the depth to back him up, but what does it mean? What do the Cardinals need to do now? We'll talk about that next. First, today's show is brought to you by Game Time. We've all been there before, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale. Only way to lose your spot for a show that you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime. And you could save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. Listen, going off of those last-minute deals right away, a couple of years ago, I don't see a lot of concerts. I'm not a big concert guy. However, favorite band coming into town, Blink-182, I'm telling my wife, listen, let's wait for the tickets to kind of drop a little bit. Evidently, they do. I see Blink-182 on the floor for half the price, and it's all because of Game Time's last-minute deal. So take the guesswork out of buying concert or show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Should I just leave the Game Time ticker up here that I forgot to put when we did this segment? Should this whole segment just be sponsored by Game Time? Moving the show along, Starling Thomas tears his ACL. And honestly, one of the things that I saw on Sunday morning, and I was just like, damn, that's a big blow to the Cardinals defense, at least to my perspective, because over the last couple of years, Starling Thomas has went from someone that I kind of despised playing corner to like, oh my goodness, this guy seems like a true, potentially number 2, but definitely number 3 corner on the roster. So let's talk about this. Who's the obvious next man up? And I mean, is there a worrisome about the Cardinals' depth? And then we can get into what exactly they do now that Starling Thomas is out. Clancy, I'll go to you.
So that last question is the right first question because it shows. So with Starling Thomas, he was going to be the CB3, and people get injured, whatever it is. He's a rotational piece, but he's important. Undrafted free agent, dude. You love to see. It's kind of the Greg Dortch path. He's gotten exponentially better over the last couple of years, and it sucks. You don't want to see anybody get hurt, let alone somebody you cover or a fan of or whatever it may be. With that said, this could unlock what I called the demon mode of this defense, where you could see a situation where we talked about off air, and we've seen some rumblings of it. Josh Weinfuss, ESPN, talked about it a little bit. They're doing 3 safety sets with Jalen Thomas, Buda Baker, and Dadrian Taylor-Demerson, 3 of the hardest hitting dudes on the defensive side of the ball. Jalen Thompson has played in the nickel before with this team from years ago. So you have that option where if you want to move Garrett Williams outside and you have Max Meltner, Will Johnson fight for the other outside CB role, and you move Jalen Thompson in, then you have Buda Baker and Rabbit over the top. Like, that is the most demonic, secondary the Cardinals could have roster-wise. So you lose Starling Thomas, which sucks, and it's bad, and you don't want anybody to get hurt, but it could unlock, a happy accident where it's like, oh, my God, look at what this is. And then the other side, you keep Garrett Williams in the slot where he was the highest rated zone slot guy last year by Pro Football Focus. And then you have Will Judson and Max Melton, on the outside. And you see if Rabbit's ready to supplant Jalen Thompson alongside Budda Baker. Like, it's a win-win, my dudes. Like, that's the craziest part. There's so much depth on this team, man. I would go 3 safety a lot more because Jalen's played inside. If Garrett Williams can play outside and Will Johnson's a CB1 on the outside, this is the best secondary in football in a couple years. Like, I don't think people understand how deep this secondary is. Right? I mean, is that crazy?
No, it's not crazy. I think you're spot on with the combination of guys that they can kind of roll in there. The only thing that I would say is after that combination, if anyone goes down, now you're talking about, okay, where do we go from here? Yeah. You're obviously banking on Will Johnson to develop into whether it's cornerback 1 or cornerback 2. You're banking on him to have that type of upside, and so he has to grow up a lot faster. And so the rookie mistakes of blowing a coverage or not settling in your zone the right way, those things just become a little more critical. So it obviously speeds up the development of the younger guys, but you've got, like you said, this is a deep secondary. I think that, you can play the, 3 safeties, depending on the coverages that you're playing. I think that it can help you in some situations, or, some teams have the ability to kind of get those mismatches, but I don't think it's a problem. I think if anything, if someone else goes down, then we start to worry about, what it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to keep my point to the strictly safety perspective, because I do think that now Garrett Williams, potentially per Josh Weinfist, going to the outside, how that kind of looks. But, I mean, Clancy's hit it right on the head. I like Starling Thomas. I think he was really good for the Cardinals last year for what he was asked to do, and I thought he would take that next step in year 3 under Jonathan Gannon, Nick Rawlis, and potentially be like a bona fide 2 or 3, and you didn't even need him to be that guy. The only concern is Will Johnson now has to grow up kind of fast. That was kind of my take on it a couple of days ago, of like those rookie mistakes that we were talking about before. He's got to kind of get those coached out of him. Now, what we've seen from training camp so far, which is a couple of days in pads, and then before that, just shorts and spandex, he's looked really good. But what I would feel more comfortable is that plan A is leaning into DTR and Jalen Thompson and Budda Baker, because as someone mentioned in the chat, I can't remember exactly who it was, Chill Peasy here, I like the 3 safety sets because it let Budda Baker run free. Jalen Thompson can either, of course, play in the slot if he wants to. I think he'd do a fine job there. I think maybe I would rather an actual corner do that, but just because they're a corner doesn't mean it's better than Jalen Thompson. I like what we saw from Rabbit Taylor Demerson last year, and so with having Budda Baker just being able to kind of roam the middle of the field, that's the best version of the Arizona Cardinals, is unleashing your best talent on the field instead of just feeling like you have to play Starling Thomas because he's really good at his job too. So any concern, though, that Will Johnson and Max Melton could potentially be your starting 2 outside corners? I know we talked about Garrett Williams potentially going back out to the outside, which I don't know if I'm in love with that, but what if there's a world where you're starting a second-year cornerback and a rookie cornerback in the first year? Are opposing quarterbacks and offenses just kind of licking their chops, Jamil?
I wouldn't say
regardless of who they are, just the youngin and want to test that immaturity.
I mean, it allows you to kind of take your chances. As an offense, you're thinking we can take our chance on this guy until he proves otherwise that we shouldn't throw his way. So yeah, in that sense, but we're talking about 2 guys that can play football at the end of the day.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
Like these are solid defensive backs in the NFL, and they're gonna make their plays. So I don't think that it's just free lunch. I don't think that offenses will look at it and be like, oh, we can do whatever we like out there. But I do think they'll get tried, and until somebody picks off someone a couple of times, then those things will keep happening. But I wouldn't be too worried about it. I mean, they're young, they're talented, they're athletic, like they're guys that can cover. So it's a good problem to have when you have young DBs that have played ball the way that these guys have.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, it's like that's welcome to every other NFL team. Like every NFL team has this. Like this isn't new for the Cardinals. It's like, okay, do you want a 33-year-old dude who's losing a step, or do you want a dude who's 23 and has played 17 games? Like the reason why I lend more towards Jalen Thompson is because he's Budda Baker's dude. They've played on the same field every game for 5 years now, or 6 years. Jalen Thompson, like I don't give Steve Keim enough credit for him. That was a supplemental draft pick out of Washington State in like 2018, I think. The year after Budda Baker, and he's been great. He's been great by all accounts except for last year. So when it comes to this, you got to – I don't like comparing year after year because, there's no real momentum in this league, but the roster construction from last year to this year is obviously astronomically different. The Cardinals had a top 15 defense last year with no pass rush. Yeah. And Max Mountain is a rookie, and no Will Johnson, and nobody that you trusted in the middle outside of Mac Wilson. Like Budda Baker's never had two corners on the same team that he could ever, like legitimately not in the league. Patrick Peterson and Byron Murphy was the closest, but Patrick Peterson cheated and was out 6 weeks, and Byron Murphy was terrible. Like that was the closest thing to a CB1 and CB2 that Budda Baker's had. So listen, it's going to be special. Now I do want to ask, I don't think we were ready to talk about this, but I do want to ask. There is Rasul Douglas. There's Stephon Gilmore, who's 100. There's Asante Samuel Jr. still out there with some ailment that, he has some sort of injury lingering. Like, do you go out and they've got money. Like, do you go out and bring a dude in? Like, Rasul Douglas was here for 10 minutes before going to Green Bay and wreaking havoc, and then Buffalo. Like, do you bring a dude in?
Well, Rasul Douglas, he's been on the market for so long that I'm like, why is he still on the market?
Yeah.
Well, Asante Samuel Jr., I think, is a little different. Everyone remembers the kid, if I'm not mistaken, out of Florida State, kind of falling in the draft. Seen as a guy that people might like, but he can't tackle. Like he doesn't fit the mold of the Arizona Cardinals defense. That's the one issue with him is he's not physical. He doesn't he doesn't tackle guys violently. He's more interested in pushing guys out of bounds. He's Patrick Peterson without the Patrick Peterson level of coverage and ability to deal with that on a regular basis. I'd be interested in Rasul Douglas, but dude, what if you just feel good about Denzel Burke and you're like, we don't need him? Like only the Cardinals actually know that.
Well, but I mean, they've got Elijah Jones too from last year. They've
Elijah
got
Jones.
young guys. Elijah Jones was hurt last year for a good portion of the season. He saw very little run, but it's when it comes to this, and I understand your point, but when it comes to this is like, sometimes you just need somebody that is going to give you 75% of what a valuable corner gives you. Rasul Douglas. I mean, Kyler Murray threw a bad ball and AJ Green didn't turn around. I don't think Cliff Kingsbury destroyed the franchise. Let's not get twisted. It's on a Thursday night game in week 7, 3 years.
It is so funny how that game is. It was just a random Thursday night game. Yeah, it stopped the Cardinals from being undefeated, but it's such an interesting game that everyone remembers as the Cardinals season going downhill from there, when in reality DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray both got injured in that game.
Yeah, well, it's the and we're going to squirrel here. It's like in 2016 when they lost to New England in week 1 with Jimmy Garoppolo on the Chandler Catton zero kick, the second Monday Night Football game. BA at the end of the year said, and I quote, "We didn't recover from that the rest of the year." So it's the same thing. That's an Arizona Cardinals thing, and I think that's different as I digress. But like, Jamil, do you think they should add somebody, or is this you just let the kids
man? I would let the kids play, man. I think you get through the preseason and you see what you got, and then go from there. I think if you do bring in an older guy like a Stephon Gilmore or someone like that, it kind of shows that you don't have belief in the guys in the room, especially guys that have played football. Like I said, if Will Johnson was a 5th-round pick, I get it. But this guy was supposed to be a 1st-round pick, and he was a 2nd-round pick. So, like, you've got belief in these guys. Let them play in the preseason. If you're getting torched, that's a whole different deal. Maybe, you kind of put your feelers out there, but you got some young talent in that room. Let the guys go play and let them learn and get through the preseason.
And that's the more exciting one too, right? That's more exciting.
I mean, exactly.
Yeah, well, we should have we should have hit this. So we won't spend super long on it, so we don't, water down the other topics. But Garrett Williams, according to Josh Weinfuss, said the plan all along was to have him go play on the outside even before the Starling Thomas injury. He said it should be an easy transition as he played outside corner at Syracuse. It was a challenge, but Williams said to move inside to nickel. He said he'll play both outside and nickel, which means he'll hardly come off the field on really any down and distance. How do we feel about Garrett Williams, who is, I think at minimum, the third best slot corner in the NFL, like just purely slot corner? I think he's a top 3 guy there. How do we feel about moving him to the outside? It's kind of the same feeling I had with Darius Johnson Jr. last year when he went from right tackle to left tackle. I was like, do you really want to move him from there? He was really good there. And then, of course, it was seamless. He was awesome at left tackle, too. And I kind of have the same reaction of like Garrett Williams, who's really good on the inside. Do you really want to mess with that? Just really quickly, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Listen, the route tree
does it matter that much? Does it matter that much?
From this standpoint, okay. Now, when you're a cornerback on the inside, when you play slot, you don't get the matchup with the AJ Browns, the Justin Jeffersons, all of those guys, unless it happens on a motion or a shift. Moving a guy to the outside means he's going to be seeing the 1 and 2, the Jamar Chase or the T. Higgins or the AJ Brown or Devontae Smith every play. So it's obviously a step up in what he's being asked to do, but slot cornerbacks, they cover the route tree completely. So he'll be able to adjust, but it's just a different type of talent that he's going to be going against. So I think he can do it. It's going to be different because of the stature of guy you're going against.
Yeah, that's right. And but you're also going to get more help over the top. You're not going to be as much on an island. Like agreed. But like for me, the way these first 2 segments, and this was by happenstance. We've been talking about 5 dudes on the defense out of 11. Garrett Williams, Darius Robinson, Jalen Thompson, Zaven Collins, and Budda Baker, who can play multiple positions. Like that's flexibility. That's malleability of a defense with the evil genius that is Nick Rallis. He'd throw 8 corners on the field at one time if he thought he could get him an edge. Like they don't run conventional defenses. Even during Jonathan Gannon's introductory press conference, he said something to the effect of, we don't really have a base defense. Like they do,
yeah,
but
I know.
It's like the matter of let's just throw some dudes out there and rip. It's like you could see Budda Baker playing off-ball linebacker next year. And you could Jimmy Johnson the hell out of this defense too, if you want to be faster. Like it doesn't matter. That's the answer. And it's not lazy. It's like wherever they're going to put him is where he's going to thrive. That's the trust you have in Nick Rallis and Jonathan Gannon at this point, in my opinion.
It's so interesting where the discourse has been from the defense from last year to this year, because last year, like on the sidelines, the topic was defense looks okay. However, the offense is what's going to keep them in games. And that was the complete opposite last year. The defense was just completely outperformed itself. The more and more you talk about the defense, man, it sucks to lose Walter Nolan for as long as you lost him for. It's not going to be a season-long injury. But damn, I think you're talking about top 5 potential. Let's also talk about the offensive line. We kind of mentioned it in the first segment a little bit, but not exactly looking sharp so far in the first couple of weeks of training camp, as Jamil sits up and is going to go ahead and talk us down off the ledge a little bit. Let's talk about that. Will Hernandez, could he be a missing piece that the Cardinals need to bring back? Let's talk about it all next. First, this episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Fantasy football is back. Fire up the group chat, get your draft board ready, and buckle up for a season filled with breakouts, busts, and all of the overreactions we live for. It's all going down on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, myself, the guys on the Cardinals Squad show are playing Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether it's your first time or a veteran making your billionth league. I just recently signed up for a fantasy football league. It's my second league as to my many that I'll play in, and we're playing on Yahoo Fantasy. And The other league I play on, I just don't necessarily love the schematics of using other fantasy football apps. Yahoo Fantasy makes it a little bit easier. I like the feature the most of dropping and adding players, kind of showing you the strengths and weaknesses of which guy you should grab, who is next in line to be picked up on the waiver wire. It just makes things a whole heck of a lot more easier, as well as it telling you in real time who just scored on your team, who just threw a touchdown pass, who just fumbled the ball. Yahoo Fantasy's got a lot of different attributes to it that make it one of a kind. So to celebrate 28 years of fantasy greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days, giving you more ways to win, more ways to draft, and more ways to play. It all begins August 4th. Stay tuned and get started by creating or joining a fantasy football league at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That's yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. And let's make this fantasy season the best one yet. As I bring the guys back onto the stage, Jamil, you kind of spoke about this a little bit when we were talking about Darius Robinson, the defensive line. The Cardinals, for the most part, are the same offensive line by definition. Paris Johnson Jr., Yoda Froholt, but they do have some new additions with Isaiah Adams and Jonah Williams. I want to talk about Jonah Williams specifically in just a second, but should we be concerned in training camp that the offensive line, like it's hard in training camp, right? Because as a fan, you want to get excited about the defense, kicking butt and taking names, but offensively, it comes at the expense of your own team. And you say to yourself, those guys are kind of getting pushed around a little bit. Talk us down. What are the do's? What are the don'ts when you're evaluating the offensive line in training camp as a former NFL offensive lineman?
Yeah, man. I just think, look, within the first week or so, like I've said, guys are just getting back to playing a contact sport. You can't simulate this in your training. Whether a guy is holding a bag, whatever the case may be, it's so hard to simulate the foot traffic that you're in when you're playing offensive line. Just the speed of the game. Obviously, they got a new offensive line coach as well, so that's a new piece of it as well. They're learning a new technique. There may be things that they haven't gotten to try with pads on that they're now doing at a high level now. So there's so many factors that go into it. Guys get knocked around in the first couple of days. It's hard to find your footing, especially pads on. Your weight shift is different. Everything is different. So I wouldn't panic. On the topic of Will Hernandez, if I'm the Cardinals, I'm bringing Will Hernandez in. We obviously just saw he got cleared. This is a guy who is a plug and play type of guy for the Cardinals. He's been that since he's been with them. He's someone that's I've said it over and over again, he sets the tone for the offensive line. Everyone needs a no BS type of guy on their O-line, and he's that guy for them. So I think it brings back some attitude for them, and I think it allows them to just plug him in. And even if not, you have insurance for the right guard spot in general. So I will bring him back. I think that would be great for them to have.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. Nobody's wearing the Miho shirts as much as they are if he's not coming back. Like, let's be honest, guys. Like, they love him. Everybody loves Will Hernandez here. And on top of it, it's like when Budda Baker did the fake request trade thing, it's like, you think he's going to leave after all the crap he's been through and things are getting good? It's the same with Will Hernandez. It's like his job, this is the easiest his job's going to be of all the years he's been here, irrespective of who plays right tackle, which we'll talk about in a second. Like, he is this new version of the Arizona Cardinals. He's Yalta Froholt at the right guard position. The two trusty steeds who make far less than they deserve. Like Yalta Froholt, you could put an extra 20 mil guaranteed and be like, okay, yeah, it makes sense. He's been incredibly, stable. Yeah. The best abilities, availability. Yeah. And with Will Hernandez, I know he went down, but I think it's a no-brainer. The offensive line as a whole, what did you expect? They didn't do anything this offseason with it. So it's not a what did you expect they're going to regress. It's a what did you expect? The defensive line is going to be a ton better than the offensive line. It should be glaring. This is what we should see, even if it's at 60 or 70% speed-wise. Like, The offensive line is going to be fine. They run the ball better than so many other teams, and they're rinsing and repeating the offensive line. And I'm sorry, Ben, Will Hernandez, Isaiah Adams would have not seen the field if Will Hernandez was healthy. And that's still true to this day. Will Hernandez
You mean last year? You mean last year?
Yeah. And for this year, if Will Hernandez gets re-signed, you're plopping 67 at the right guard, first string dude. He just comes in, even though it's a different offensive line coach. Doesn't matter. He's the guy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
For myself, I think it, like, just in a vacuum, why wouldn't you bring Will Hernandez back into the fold? Continuity, knows the playbook. Sure, again, like you had mentioned, Justin Fry is the new offensive line head coach. Different sets, different stances, doing things a little bit differently, whatever. The entire offensive line is doing that as well. And I spoke to Will Hernandez at the Cardinals, in February in New Orleans. I was able to get some
insider information, huh?
That he only told me.
Oh,
all he could do was rave about Justin Fry being the new offensive line head coach. He liked the guy. He was someone he wanted to work under. Granted, he was a free agent at the time, so maybe he was just saying anything, but it seems like a good dude that everyone really likes. There's no reason not to bring Will Hernandez back. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm anti-Will Hernandez, but I can't act like there isn't other avenues to this. And that's maybe Will Hernandez only wants to be on a team that is going to start him for obvious reasons. You make more money, and down the line, you can make more money. And maybe the Cardinals, I'm not saying it's the right thing. I'm just saying they do have the most intel on Evan Brown or Isaiah Adams at the guard position. And maybe they just feel better about those guys. Maybe they think that they're more durable. I don't know. But it can't just be the Cardinals just don't like him. There's got to be more to it. But in a vacuum, it would only make sense to bring Will Hernandez back. So that's where I go there. I don't want to bury the lead a little bit here as well with Jonah Williams. I mentioned this last year with Jonah Williams, and I was told to shut up because you don't understand, and Monty Austinfort is awesome. Jonah Williams came from the Cincinnati Bengals, and he wasn't a superstar right tackle there as well. Thankfully, the Cardinals pulled what felt like a Will Hernandez this year in bringing Kelvin Beachum back, and he solidified that right tackle position. But not only did he get injured early in the year, but he also wasn't great for the Cardinals as the right tackle in the reps that we're getting. Forget the guard position, forget Will Hernandez. I think in a league where you need two bookend tackles, maybe not Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, but two good tackles, I think there could be a glaring hole at that right tackle position. And I think people are starting to see it where now the highlights are coming out. Guess who got burnt and gave up 2 sacks today in camp? None other than Jonah Williams, who has never been great in the NFL so far. We're just expecting him to fix that position. Thankfully, you do have Kelvin Beachum there, but are you saying the same thing, Clancy? Before Jamil eats me alive?
I mean,
I was pushing it to the side, man.
What is the question that I'm answering here?
The right tackle position. Are we worried about it being an actual hole for the Cardinals where Kelvin Beachum is another year older? If I'm not mistaken, he's 35 years old. I can't just expect him to come in and save the position again. But he's 36 years old. He just turned 36. So
listen,
but Jonah Williams hasn't been great.
Age doesn't matter with Kelvin Beachum. I think he can step in there and be serviceable for you. I do think, look, it's obviously something that, yes, the bookend tackles is pivotal. I can only think about when I was in Buffalo and we had Deion Dawkins on the left, and then they drafted this young kid, Spencer Brown. And Spencer Brown was showing flashes of playing really great in training camp. And so they moved Darrell Williams from right tackle to right guard and turned it over to Spencer Brown. And now look at them. Their 2 tackles are probably two of the best in football. Mm-hmm. And so it obviously it allows you to focus on the interior of the pocket more when you got 2 guys that can shut down the edge. So yes, it's something that you don't want to see him getting beat in training camp, but again, we got to see in the preseason, man. Let's not call it early. Let's see the guy play against some different talent And yes, I know he hasn't been the last 2 years or whatever you want to say.
I don't even know if it's the last 2. I don't think he's ever been really a great player. He was from Alabama. He's a former first-round pick. I mean, there is a reason why the Bengals let go of him at 25, 26 years old. And so I don't know, man. I know offensive linemen just have a different life to them. They are in the NFL for forever. But I mean, it just feels like Kelvin Beachum should just have the starting job and Jonah Williams should back him up. And I think
now you're talking Kelvin Beachum's going to want starter money. Maybe.
Well, he's already signed for this year. I don't know if you're worried about the years after, but I don't know, man. It's something that we saw last year in training camp. Then in games we saw it, and then he got injured, and then it went away. And then I guess he did end up coming back late in the season, really late in the season. But it was really Kelvin's job to lose. And I don't know how comfortable I feel just giving the right tackle position to Jonah Williams again when we know he's yet to be consistent anywhere he's been. And everyone else I feel fine about the offensive line. You can talk me into what you were saying before. The offensive line is going to be fine this year because in training camp, it just takes a while for them to get their legs under them. I totally get that. But there is one weak link on that line that I'm like, should we be experimenting with this for any longer, Clancy or Jamil?
I don't know. I mean, all I'm looking at positivity is Paris Johnson Jr. is looking like he could be a top 5 left tackle. Like look at the 49ers. Okay. The 49ers have had Trent Williams and they've had kind of a revolving door at right guard and right tackle. Okay. Mike McGlinchey was there for a while. I think they had some names, but when Trent Williams plays, they win. When he doesn't, they lose. That's literally been the stat. They were an 0 for, I think it was last year when Trent Williams didn't play. So yes, it's not perfect. And yes, the Arizona Cardinals defense is 1,000,000% better than they were last year. So it's not like the rest of the roster got worse and the offensive line is a problem. The collective talent on this roster is exponentially better than it was last year. And when you do 6 out of 7 picks on the defensive side of the ball, yeah, you're going to have a question mark. I don't think Jonah Williams is as bad as you say. I don't think that Kelvin Beachum is as bad of a backup option as his age would indicate. The dude looks like he's 11 years old. I don't know how he's 36. He's got the best baby face I've ever seen, Mr. Fundamental.
Hey, you know what they say, black don't crack. That's what they say.
He's got this big smile. All he said, like, Kelvin Beachum deserves it. Like what he said
black
about
don't crack.
What he said about Paris Johnson in camp, where he's like, I'm here to serve and do whatever's best for him. And that's what it is. Like, it'll be fine.
Yeah. I honestly, I think they'll be fine. I don't think you need to bookend tackles. I obviously think it's a luxury, but I think they'll be fine, man. You gotta get a guy some chips here and there. Give him a chip block. Get creative. Get a tight end next to him and create a longer edge if he gets to struggling. Obviously, it's not an issue that you want to have, but I think he'll be able to hold up, and that may be the offensive line speaking in me, but hey, I'll give the guy the benefit of the doubt. It's week 2 of training camp. Come on,
it's the first week of pads. We're going a little long here, but Jamil, I don't want to cross over this because anytime we talk about the offensive line, I'm just going to let you have it. But in your experience going from different offensive line coach to different offensive line coach, I'll be honest with you. To myself, I like Justin Fry, former Ohio State Buckeye coach. I liked Clayton Adams a lot because I thought he was a really smart offensive guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to say it like this. What really changes and how much does a good offensive line coach versus a mediocre offensive line coach, because I feel like Clayton Adams is really good, to maybe Justin Fry is just okay.
Yeah.
How much does that actually affect the offense? Or is it not that big of a deal?
I think when the offense has an identity already and you bring in someone, it doesn't affect the guys. I think when you're trying to establish an identity with an offense, and obviously you have your right guard position is gone. Now you're kind of figuring out the combination of guys you want to trot out there. I think that it is a big deal because certain coaches do things differently. They may want you to put your hands somewhere differently. They may want the footwork differently. And offensive linemen, we're thinkers. That's just the reality of it. Like, so to be in your stance and to think and to be thinking you have to do a certain technique a certain way that you haven't normally done in order to appease the coach, it just adds a different dynamic to the game. So there could be a little bit of that going on. I will tell you this. When you get in games, all that goes out the window. because listen, guys want to perform for the purpose of the game. So they don't care what the consequences are of what coach has been saying. It goes out the window and you go and perform and you go to what you know and what's going to help you win the block. So that's why I'm saying when we get into games and preseason and things like that, we'll really get to see how they're performing. Right now, they're just trying to do what the coach wants them to do. And some of that stuff may not be right for them. So we got to wait and see, man. We got to wait and see.
I wouldn't. Okay. Listen. So that could that right there could be a real explanation to why the offensive line hasn't looked great from Jimmy. I think it could be.
I mean, look, you're not even.
You what he just said?
It does surprise me.
That makes sense.
Stop it, Clancy. Stop it. That is Japanese, interesting to me. What do you mean? What do you say, Clancy? How long did you? Well, okay, sure, yeah, it's human nature, but I didn't think of it like that. I do think of some of the better offensive line coaches in the NFL, and I'm like, how much does that matter?
It matters.
And it's like, well, when you get, well, there you go. But when you get a new guy in, you're just doing what you want to be told so you don't get benched and get a good review. And in the game, it does kind of go away. It makes sense, but I didn't think of it that way. Sorry, I'm not the only philosophical thinker both of you guys are. Marvin Harrison Jr. is like,
why do I catch this straight?
We need 3 of them.
Jeez.
All right, moving on. There's been another Cardinal standout in training camp, and I got to take a little bit of a victory lap here when it comes to Marvin Harrison Jr. So let's do that next. Closing out the show, the Cardinals have had a couple of studs in training camp over the past couple of 2 weeks. Darius Robinson, as well as Marvin Harrison Jr. We all saw the one-handed catch that was all over social media, which I thought was a little overblown, to be fair. I thought it was a good catch, but it's one-on-ones. He should be able to catch the ball with one hand with back shoulder fade, but, I'll give it where it is. Here is the most interesting thing when it comes to Marvin Harrison Jr., and then we can talk about if this is actually real or if it's not. Last week, I mentioned with Marv, I thought the one thing that he lacked was like that cocky, conceited, I'm just better than you mentality that I do think a lot of wide receivers had. Chad Johnson had, Terrell Owens had, or Randy Moss had. And to your guys' point, he is a little bit more of a quieter guy, but then Kyler Murray talked with the media and they said, what's the biggest difference that you've noticed from Marvin year 1 to year 2? He didn't say the muscle mass. He didn't say the crisper routes. He said confidence. And now I'm starting to get all on board with Marvin Harrison Jr. is just going to be awesome this year because he continues to make plays in camps over and over and over again. And I'm seeing that level of confidence that I see in all-time great wide receivers. And now I'm like, listen, Clancy's got a point here. Maybe this guy is just better than Malik Neighbors. So let's go here because we've talked about training camp and what's real, what isn't. Is it real that Marv is just going to take a giant step forward in year 2 from what we're seeing in training camp so far, Clancy?
It's real that he is a very good football player who had an average year last year. It's real that he's put on 10 or 15 pounds. It's real that he's still one of the better young route runners in the league. It's real that he and Kyler Murray have thousands and thousands of reps they didn't have at the start of last season. Like, this is the natural progression of things. This is how things work. And when it's done like in more than 13 seconds, like people need in their veins right away, it's like, this is natural. This is the Monty Osifor progression. It's a Darius Robinson progression. It's just how things happen in a natural state. How's that for philosophy? Do you need me to break it down a little bit more for you, Pumpkin? It's super easy to watch Marv play football. All joking aside, Ben, like, I would be surprised if he wasn't chomping at the bit at Trey McBride's heels this year for who's the first option of the pass catcher room. And if that's the case, The Cardinals are winning 12 or more games. You can't stop both of them. So this is the baby stages of the big pop year, and he and Kyler just seem to be on more of the right page than they were last year for a large portion of it. Right? I mean,
Jamil thinks he needs to go play offensive line.
No, look.
Give us that philosophical thought.
I mean, look, we're talking about a 4th overall pick. We're talking about Blitnikoff Award winner. We're talking about one of the guys that, one of the best receivers at Ohio State that we've seen. Like, this is to be expected. The one-handed catch, it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal because that shows confidence. That shows that he can go and do that in a game setting. You see it. So, I think, look, we've talked about this on the show every week. Like, is he going to make the jump? Is he going to make the jump? And I think we all agree that if this year is the year that the Cardinals make noise, he has to make that jump. And he's more than capable of doing it. We talked about we know who his dad is. This guy he's a bred football player. Like, he's going to make it happen. So it's exciting to see it happening.
He has just looked so good over the past, like since the last time we had talked, where I know the Cardinals don't have Patrick Surtain or whatever, one of the highest level of cornerbacks, but the quarterback room is pretty good. Will Johnson, if not just the cornerback room, the secondary room as a whole, and no one can defend the guy. Granted, I'm just seeing the highlights from training camp, but everything looks like 10 times better. Will Johnson, there was a highlight that went out there where Will Johnson's draped all over him. There's 3 defensive backs draped all over him, or at least around him with Will Johnson all over him, and he's catching it over all of them or in between all of them. And I'm like, that's the type of confidence that we need to see, where my opinion is starting to flip a little bit of like, will Marvin Harrison Jr. do this? What should have been the draft pick a couple of years ago, because I'm hearing Kyler talk about it, because I'm seeing him go up and go get those balls. And now I'm just like, okay, it's on Drew Petzing now. It's on Drew Petzing to figure out how to use this guy and stop making so many, play action, drag routes throughout the field. And
you can't abandon the play action now. You need the play action.
I'm not abandoning it. What I'm saying is, can we throw the ball downfield a little bit? And all I'm seeing in training camp is 40-yard bombs to Marvin Harrison Jr. And I'm like, this is fun. Could you do it in a game, please?
You were so close to a perfect sentence there. Like, truly, this isn't, I'm not giving you crap at all. You were so close to a perfect sentence. And it comes down to Kyler Murray, not Drew Petzing. Okay, if you would have ended that with Kyler Murray, I'd have been like, yeah, because all that you said, draped all around him, 3 dudes draped all around him, and who put the ball perfectly to only where Marv could catch it. That's it. That's a good point. Marv could have this is the crazy part. Marv could have the same year this year with throws and opportunities as he did last year. And if Kyler Murray levels up even just a little bit, Marv's at 1,210 touchdowns and 85 receptions. Like, he's not that far off. There's a couple jump balls that Kyler Murray threw terribly, but if Kyler Murray can level up in this offense with his last go here, and he and Marv are on the same page always, which they were on the same page like 30% of last year, like it was a joke a lot of the year. That was it. All right, GTO. Okay, we're not starting Jacoby Brissett here with the Arizona Cardinals, all right? I see you in the comments every damn day. They're not starting Jacoby Brissett. Anyways, that's it. You're right. When it comes down to it, it's the players. Okay, that's it. If Kyler can level that extra step up, Marv can be all world next year.
What I don't want to be seen as is someone who's giving Kyler Murray the keep trying, buddy, because I feel like my frustrations have been really felt, and it's a make or break year for Kyler if he's ever going to be a guy that you think that can help put you in a position to win a Super Bowl. Not be the guy, but a guy to help put you in a position to win a Super Bowl. I guess my frustrations just come where it did feel like at times it was a dink and dunk offense and really relying on James Conner. But you're right. That is more on Kyler than it is on Drew Petzing, because Kyler needs to make the plays that need to happen. I always reference that Seattle game. Just sometimes the play calling does get to me too. But you're right. Jamil, you have anything else?
No, nothing else, man. Force feed the guy, just like I said, man. Get him the ball. This guy's 6'4", man. Throw him a slant, throw him a drag, throw him whatever you want. Just get him the ball.
let's help me out here. I've done, we talked about Yahoo Fantasy just a little bit ago, a sponsor of the show. I've done so many mock drafts, it's not even funny. Where's Marv going in fantasy football? What's fair for Marv to go fantasy football?
I mean,
in a PPR league.
I'm not taking him before the third round.
Yeah,
you're not taking him before the third round.
No shot. There's so many good wide receivers, so many good tight ends. Trey McBride's probably going in the second. He may be the first tight end off the board if it's not George Kittle. Like all the running backs, Marv may not go in redraft leagues. Marv could go at the end of the fourth. Like he hasn't proven anything fantasy football wise to be elite. So, but I mean, dynasty leagues, if it's a new redraft, like beginning of dynasty league, I'm sure he'd go top 15 or something like that. If it's a long distance thing, but
speaking of fantasy football, can we get an offensive line fantasy football? Can I draft my guards and my
how much is a point?
Center? It doesn't
what
matter.
Kind of a point is a pancake? What is that worth? 1?
Yeah.
Five.
Can we?
You know how hard it is to pancake somebody?
Listen. You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to watch a movie where it's just paint drying the entire time. Same thing. What are we doing here, bro? Come on. Hey, that was a great chip there. Half a point per chip.
Listen, all I'm saying is maybe we need a 12-person fantasy football league and maybe add some of the subscribers to it potentially. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think that maybe needs to go down. But what I just was curious about the Marvin Harrison Jr. thing.
Yeah.
Because fantasy football drafts are coming up. I've kind of seen the same thing. I don't feel comfortable taking him any higher because last year he's such a boomer bust guy, and that a lot of that goes on Kyler Murray as well. We got a couple of guys in the chat saying they want to run that league too. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals Squad Show your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL Scouting as training camps get closer and moves are being made. Host Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino will make you the most informed NFL fan this offseason. Find Locked On NFL Scouting on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. For Jamil, Clancy, myself, everyone in the chat, thank you so much for making Locked On Cardinals Squad Show. We will see you guys on Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Talk